Before we know it, we've already reached the midpoint of version 3.3, which means we've entered the second phase of this version's banner. Of course, in the second phase, we're also introduced to a new character named Cipher, who is rumored to be able to enhance existing characters like Acheron and Feixiao through her unique mechanics. Cipher's main advantage is that she can store damage dealt to enemies using her debuff status, and we can utilize that stored damage through her ultimate ability, guys. As a result, her damage output will continue to grow as long as better DPS is keep coming out. Can Cipher compete for the support or debuffer role in the upcoming meta? So without further ado, I'm Hoyostation and we will dive deeper into the ultimate guide for Cipher in version 3.3. Let's do this. Do you have a character or weapon in the game that you really want but you don't have enough stellar jades? Here is a smarter way to recharge your favorite games like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Look no further than Lootbar. Lootbar is the most reliable top-up platform. It saves up to 23% for all orders compared with the official channel, and it provides an 80% off for your first purchase. It's 100% safe as you will only be using your UID. We will buy pack for 3,000 stellar jades for $42, which otherwise would have costed $50, totally saving $7.5. We received the crystals we purchased in the less than 3 minutes. All recharges will be done through the official channel with miHoyo, which allows you to enjoy all top-up offers. Ready to level up your gaming experience? Check the link in the description to get the amazing discount. Alright, before we dive deeper into the kit, let's talk about her base stats first. Cipher has a relatively low base HP of only 931 points. Some characters with the same path, such as Fuke and Jiaochu, have 1,125 points and 1,358 points, respectively. Despite having such low base HP, Cipher has a relatively high base speed of 106 points compared to similar characters. Interestingly, while Cipher's maximum energy isn't particularly high at 130 points, it's important to note that we won't be using Cipher's ultimate ability frequently. Instead, we will aim to save up as much damage as possible before finally unleashing it at the right moment through her ultimate ability, guys. First, let's talk about her talent. It's called the Hospitable Delusion. Essentially, this talent applies a debuff called Patron to one enemy, causing the damage they take to be stored. At first glance, this kit seems advantageous for characters capable of dealing massive damage to elite and boss type enemies with frequent attack frequencies, such as Archer, the new character we can obtain for free in the upcoming 3.4 version. Additionally, this kit can benefit older teams like Feixiao, as it allows for a follow-up attack once she gets her turn. Combined with Cipher, who has high speed, she will get her turn more frequently and reset her follow-up attack as well. This new damage storing mechanism is highly intriguing, as it can deal significant damage based on the amount of damage stored. This means it offers a highly flexible team composition, provided the main DPS can deal substantial damage, such as Archer, Feixiao, Acheron, and even Caceres, guys. Oh yeah, one important thing to remember is that the record value of this talent has no maximum limit at all, so we can keep storing the damage received by enemies and use it at the right time. This allows her to save her ultimate for when the stored damage is sufficient. Next, we will discuss her ultimate ability, guys, called yours truly, Kiri Phantom Thief. Okay, for those of you who are still confused, the point is that this ultimate ability has two phases of attack. The first phase deals quantum damage and 25% true damage to the main enemy target. This first phase is useful for dealing significant damage to the primary target, which is usually an elite or boss. It then concludes with the blast attack that deals quantum damage and the remaining 75% true damage to 3 enemies with the blast attack type. An important point to remember is that the true damage dealt varies based on the number of points stored by her talent. The more points stored, the greater the damage from this ultimate ability, guys. Let's take an example of damage distribution. If there are 3 enemies on the field, the damage from the second phase of this ultimate ability to the primary target will not be maximized on one target because it's split among the 2 surrounding enemies. The same applies if there are at least 2 targets on the field. However, if only one enemy remains on the field, the damage dealt will be maximized at 100% to that enemy, making this ultimate highly effective against single target enemies. Next, we will discuss her skill called Hey, Jackpot for the Taking. This skill also has a pretty interesting effect, guys, as Cipher can apply a weaken debuff that helps build up the stack of Acheron's ultimate ability. Additionally, through this kit, Cipher gains a 3% attack boost that activates before attack calculations occur, thereby increasing the damage she deals from this effect. Oh yeah, since this kit can apply a debuff, of course, Cipher requires some effective rate stats to ensure the debuff is reliably applied to enemies. Next, we will discuss her technique called Puss in Boots. This technique has a unique and interesting effect, guys, because by simply activating this technique and approaching the enemy, we will get consumable items for free without having to craft them first. In addition, keep in mind that we can get up to 50 items per day, which is a big enough amount for you to find consumables without having to make them. Furthermore, this technique will deal direct damage of 200%, which will significantly boost the initial value of Cipher's talent. Alright, now let's move on to her traces. Her minor traces will provide an additional 14 points of speed, 14.4% quantum damage boost, and a 10% effective rate. These three minor trace bonuses are highly useful because they provide a significant speed boost of 14 points, bringing Cipher's initial speed to 120 points. This value is crucial because in the traces section, she requires a specific speed amount to maximize the effects of those traces. The effect hit rate minor trace she receives is also quite helpful. As I mentioned earlier, many of her kits can apply debuffs, so she needs a high effective rate to successfully apply debuffs to enemies. The first trace, named Slate of Sky, increases the critical damage of follow-up attacks from her talent by 100%. When Cipher is in battle, the damage received by all enemies increases by 40%. Honestly, the effect of the first trace is excellent because it indirectly provides two permanent effects that remain active as long as Cipher is in battle. Of course, with the increase in damage taken by enemies, this automatically boosts the damage dealt by all team members. Even when compared to 3B's ultimate effect, the increase in damage taken by enemies is still higher, with a difference of 10%. Additionally, it's important to note that this effect is a passive one that remains active as long as Cipher is in battle. With the increased critical damage for Cipher's follow-up attacks, we don't need to worry about the low scaling damage of her follow-up attacks, which are 150% of Cipher's attack power. As for the second trace, named 300 Rogues, Cipher will record 8% of non-true damage dealt by teammates to enemies without the patron debuff. This trace is also quite good for helping to fill the record value of her talent if teammates attack enemies without patron debuff, especially for characters that attack in an area and don't focus on just one enemy, guys. So the amount of damage stored will be much bigger. The effects of this trace will provide more benefits to characters like Acheron and Castries compared to Feixiao and Archer, who focus more on attacking a single enemy. For the third trace, named Amphirean Strides, well, this trace has an important point to note. The buff we get from this trace is quite appealing, namely a 50% increase in critical rate and a 100% increase in talent record value, which becomes 24% if we reach 170 speed. Since she already has a high base speed, combined with additional relic effects like Messenger traversing hyperspace or Sacredos Relieved Ordeal, reaching 170 speed should not be too difficult. And finally, we come to the last part of the kit, which is the EIDOLON. The first EIDOLON, named Read the Room, Seek the Glee, will increase the total damage stored by 150% of the original record value. Then, when Cipher uses a follow-up attack caused by her talent, it will increase Cipher's attack by 80% for 2 turns. This first EIDOLON is particularly effective due to the increased record value. However, it's important to note that this increase is only 1.5 times the original record value, which is 12%. Initially, the record value from Cipher's talent, assuming you have 170 speed points, is 24%. With this EIDOLON, the total record value from the talent increases to 30%. This number increases further with a 6% boost. Additionally, the attack boost effect from Cipher talents after she performs her follow-up attacks is useful for increasing her damage output personally. However, since the attack boost effect from this Eidolon lasts for 2 turns, it remains active consistently because Cipher resets her follow-up attack count by 1 at the start of each turn. As for the second Eidolon, named in the fray Nap on a Spree, it has an effect where when Cipher attacks an enemy, there's a 120% base chance to apply a debuff to the enemy that increases damage taken by 30% for 2 turns. The effect of the second Eidolon is excellent for Acheron because it can apply an additional debuff to enemies with any attack, meaning even Cipher's basic attack will apply the debuff. Additionally, with the second Eidolon, the additional damage enemies can take can reach 70% when combined with the first trace effect. This is a significant number and will further increase the damage output of the entire team, guys. According to the data I obtained from several sources, the damage from this Eidolon increases by 33% compared to her Eidolon 0. As for the fourth Eidolon, named the Jig is Up, Quick to Flee, it has an effect where after Patron is attacked by a teammate, Cipher deals additional quantum damage equal to 50% of Cipher's attack. The effect of this Eidolon is similar to Robin's ultimate, guys, which deals additional physical damage when enemies are hit by teammate attacks. The difference is that this effect only deals additional damage to enemies with the Patron debuff. With this Eidolon, characters that can attack frequently such as Feixiao and Archer will be further advantaged because enemies with the Patron debuff will continuously take additional damage without any attack limits. And next, final Eidolon, named the Thief's Game, Unsung and Free, increases the damage from Cipher's follow-up attack talent by 350%. This follow-up attack also stores an additional 16% non-overflow damage. After removing the record value from using the ultimate, it restores 20% of the removed value. This Eidolon drastically increases the damage from Cipher's follow-up attack and accelerates the value recharge through her follow-up attack. The damage increase for follow-up attack is significant, rising from 150% to 500%. As a result, Cipher's damage output increases significantly due to this effect, guys. Additionally, 20% of the record value deleted through ultimate usage is restored, making Cipher's ultimate damage grow bigger as the battle progresses. In the next section, we will discuss Cipher's signature lightcon, called Last Dance on the Breeze. Well, the effect of this lightcon is quite interesting, guys, as it provides a significant speed boost, allowing Cipher to achieve a speed value of 170 speed. Additionally, with the speed increase from this lightcon, we no longer rely on the type and substats obtained from relics, enabling us to use other relics like the Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters, which provides additional critical rate and critical damage. Furthermore, the defense reduction effect from the lightcon is also quite significant. However, this lightcon has a weakness in that it only provides speed and defense reduction to enemies. But one important point to note is that the two stat effects named Bamboozle and Theft. These two effects can stack, resulting in a defense reduction of up to 24%, which is a significant number. Furthermore, the effects of this lightcon are better than those of the 4-star lightcon that has been around for a long time, namely Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat, which reduces enemy defense by 12% for 1 turn. Of course, the lightcon named Last Dance on the Breeze can be used for other Nihility characters like Fuke and Pela. Interesting, isn't it? Alright, as usual, we will move on to discussing Cipher's build. For relics, Cipher has several sets of relic that can be used for her. For the main and best relic, we can use 4 sets of Pioneer Diver of Dead Waters, which can give an additional 12% damage to enemies with debuffs, as well as additional critical rate and critical damage if the enemy has at least 2 or more debuffs. Additionally, if the user applies a debuff to the enemy, the critical rate and critical damage boost effects will increase by 100%. As I mentioned earlier, if you currently cannot reach 170 speed points because you don't have the signature lightcon, you can use 2 sets of Messenger Traversing Acrespace and 2 sets of Sekir's Relieved Ordeal to make it easier to achieve 170 speed points. As for the best Planar Ornament set, you can use Lushaka, the Sunken Seas, which increases the user's energy regeneration by 5% and boosts the first character's attack by 12% in the lineup if the user is not the first character in the lineup. This planner ornament choice is very useful for increasing the damage of your main DPS, which you typically use in the first lineup. For an alternative planner ornament, you can use Firmament Frontline Glaymoth, which increases the user's attack by 12%, and when the user's speed is 135 or 160 or higher, the user deals an additional 12% and 18% damage. This planner option can be used to increase Cipher's personal damage, as she definitely has a speed above 160 points. Anyway, as for the status recommendations you can use, they are as follows, guys. So what about the lightcon that suits Cipher? Of course, the main one is her signature lightcon called Last Dance on the Breeze, which has an effect that suits Cipher herself well. However, if you are not interested in taking her signature lightcon, you can use resolutions such as Pearls of Sweat, which also has a similar effect to her signature lightcon, although it has a lower percentage and does not provide a speed boost. I won't forget to discuss a little about characters that are suitable to be paired with Cipher and can help maximize her kit. As you already know, Cipher is an ally character who can store damage dealt by teammates to enemies, especially those with the patron debuff. The first character that pairs well with Cipher is Acheron. Acheron, one of the best main DPS characters of her time, is a character who can deal AoE damage through her ultimate ability. She has a unique mechanism for charging her ultimate, which involves debuffs applied by teammates, and her kit requires her to play with two Nihility characters. This synergizes well with Cipher, a Nihility Path character who can also apply debuffs through her skills, automatically aiding Acheron's ultimate charge and storing damage that can be used at specific times, such as when additional damage is needed. Note that Cipher has high speed, allowing her to take turns more frequently to apply debuffs to enemies. In addition to Acheron, another older character that receives a boost from Cipher's presence is Feixiao. Cipher's follow-up attack, which can be triggered once per turn, helps charge Feixiao's ultimate, which can also be charged every time she or her teammates launch an attack. Although Cipher cannot attack as frequently as March 7th Hunt or Topaz, it has a passive ability that causes enemies to take 40% more damage through her trace. Additionally, the record damage value can provide extra damage if used at the right time. Another character that can be an alternative when paired with Cipher is Castris. As we know, Castris can deal massive damage to all enemies, which automatically increases the record damage value from Cipher's talent, making the damage output from Cipher's ultimate extremely high. Additionally, since Castris' team is efficient in SP usage, we can more frequently use Cipher's skill, which applies a weaken debuff and increases Cipher's attack power. The final character that pairs exceptionally well with Cipher is Archer, who can be obtained through the collaboration event in the upcoming 3.4 version, although he hasn't been officially released yet. From the showcase video I saw, many people are pairing Archer with Cipher, which I personally find interesting because Archer can deal massive single target damage up to 5 times, making Cipher's damage record value very high, guys. Typically, we hold back Cipher's ultimate until the boss or elite enemy is alone or has a certain amount of HP remaining, so we can immediately deliver a lethal attack using Cipher's ultimate, which already has a high record value from Archer's massive damage. Alright guys, that's all for this video. What do you think about Cipher? And don't forget to check out my other videos because they are just as cool. Thanks for watching, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you in the next video.